Good afternoon, everybody. Just for something slightly different, I just wanted to share some of my thoughts about being an expat. So really, I am an expat now. This will be my 8th year living in America. I moved here after I got married because my husband came to do residency over here. He's a doctor here. So I left the UK and I'm a dietitian back home. And I moved over here and I took the registration exams to be a dietitian in the States. First year was very hard for me. I left my home, what I knew, my family, my surroundings, a job. I rented house with friends and driving and having my own paycheck, to being in Cleveland, Ohio, and having to make new friends, have the confidence to drive a car on the other side of the road and take an American driving test. And then faced with the reality that it was really hard to get employment as a dependent spouse visa, H4 it's called. And Cleveland was quite saturated with dietitians. They had a few universities there. So there was a lot of competitions from local grads, and they're probably going to hire them over me anyway, because it's easier for them. I had a few interviews and some offers, but they were far away from the city. And then I had to apply for a H1B visa, a working visa, and go home to get it. It's all good. It strengthened me and it made me have an appreciation for being a foreigner in another country and how difficult it is. Then we moved to North Carolina, and I worked then. I worked in the same hospital as my husband, and I worked in Elkin, North Carolina for a small hospital and a bunch of doctor's offices. I enjoyed my work. It was a great entry-level job into America. I have had quite good experience back home in the UK, and I would say there's quite similarities in the style of working. So that was good. That got me out and got my confidence back working, and I enjoyed the job and seeing patients, being a professional again. I read quite a few expat blogs. My favourite is The American Resident, and I had the pleasure of meeting Michelle in a service station in England on the way down to London. Wonderful lady, and she has an app as well and a great blog. She's been in the UK for 20 years, married to a British man, and she's an American, so she's kind of the reverse of me, and I really gained from her advice and experience in the field. It's really hard. Yes, we travel a lot, and me and my husband, that's our passion in life. We've travelled extensively around the world, and we just came back from a 3-week trip to the UK, so obviously I'm probably quite emotional now. It's only been a few days since I've been back, so maybe not the best time to share advice. It's very difficult living away from home, and yes, I get to go. I went home for 3 weeks, and it seems all so glorious, and what a luxurious way of living, but you really need that much time, especially with a toddler, to let them spend time with. My parents who live in Scotland, my grandparents who live about 8 hours south of there, and then his mum came from India, to kind of build a bond and to get to know, aunties and uncles and siblings, not siblings, sorry, the family, and build a bond. But you enjoy it. I love going home, and I really appreciate my homeland so much more than I ever used to living away from here. I want to eat good British food. I want to really connect with my family. I enjoy the countryside, the tea rooms, seeing castles, taking in my history because it's part of who I am as an individual. But then I've been here for 8 years, and this is my home. That's the reality of it. And America has been good for us as a family, and we've got good employment here. My husband's got a good job, and we have a house, we have friends, and we're quite settled. And although for many years I always had the notion and pining to move back home, and yeah, if somebody said tomorrow, let's go back to the UK, I'd say yes, because it's my homeland and my family's there. It's also very hard when you live here and other people in your neighbourhood have their families around for support. I've pretty much been with Jasmine, our daughter, been sole prime caregiver for 3 years with no break at all. Maybe babysitting 1 or 2 times. I can count them on one hand. I've used a babysitter. I have no family support here whatsoever. I maybe had a few weeks from my parents at the beginning, a couple of weeks here and there. And it's hard, and you almost feel slightly envious of local people who have that support. So just for all the expats out here, I know Malo from Skip to Malou from the Philippines, she really relates to the emotions I'm going through. And recently Namita from Japan has been commenting on the blog. I just want to let you know it's not easy for me. And I do love America. And you have to kind of come to the realization that you live here. And my tips from experiences: get involved in a local church, make friends, speak to your neighbours, find local mothers groups, meet people at the library, and really water and nurture friendships here, because they are your family here, they're your support system. Also, really make the most of the time you get to go back home. Try and go as often as you possibly can. Don't listen to all the jealousy and the comments about you travelling, because it's really important, especially as my grandparents get older, to see them as often as possible, and for Jasmine and her future brother to get to know them too. Those are the tips I would say. Yeah, see your family, Skype, email, use Facebook for showing pictures, and to keep up to date with everybody, and try and get roots here, because you're going to need the support here. And I'm really in the last couple of years, I think my mindset has changed, that I need to really get roots here with local people, and that's the key too. Make friends with local people from the area, and really enjoy being part of the society and the place where you're living, and embrace it. It will help you to feel more settled. I'd love to hear your tips and support, fellow expat people. And I just wanted to do this blog post so you kind of knew what it was like for me and other expats, and give you a little bit of insight, if you are not an expat, of how it's like to be one, and if you are one, to soak up some great advice from you. So my thoughts on being an expat: